officials. News 3's Dan Beedie was there today when that vote was made, and he's now outside the boardroom with details. Dan?
Thanks, Kathleen and Rusty. At today's special workshop, School Board President Jeff Harris said the meeting was called to answer two questions. Do they need more information on grandfathering, and do they want to re-vote? Most members said no. TxDOT officials urge drivers to just stay off the road, but if you must drive, drive slow. Give yourself some extra commute time before you leave your home. And if you get into an accident or slide off the road, stay in your vehicle. For more on those icy road conditions, News 3's Mac Morris is on the side of Highway 6. Mac? One of the first questions asked of Cameron Haley was who killed his mother. He immediately answered Stanley Griffin, the man sitting just a few feet away from him. Hey, Kathleen and Rusty, just last night at the intersection right behind me, a car was struck and rolled over onto its side. Now, College Station police tell me with all the road work going on University Drive, it's really important for drivers to remain cautious when they're behind the wheel. Then they head north or west. One theory is that they head through this gap in the fence where there is a getaway vehicle waiting for them on the other side. The Brazos County Sheriff's Office confirmed to KBTX earlier today there is an active investigation into the allegations of a student-teacher relationship at the high school. Besides that, not a lot of details have been released to the public. Investigators are looking into claims at the facility here in Walker County. Right now, things are all quiet at the Caroli Ranch. The ranch used to be the training site for Olympic gymnasts and where former Olympic doctor Larry Nassar used to work.
A lot of times I have to ride out of the bike lane.
Jay Pritchard has no choice but to ride his adult tricycle.
My license has been suspended. I got surcharges. I have, been riding it off and on for a couple of years.
That's why Pritchard says he's going to a forum on alternative transportation Monday night. Hosted by TxDOT, cyclists, walkers, and runners are invited to let the state know things can be better in the Brazos Valley. Pritchard says improvements are needed, especially as we get more drivers.
The traffic in Bryan College Station is getting worse. I've lived here all my life, and it's the worst I've ever seen it.
There have been improvements at both the TxDOT level and the local planning level.
Robert Rose has been selling bikes in Bryan College Station for nearly 20 years.
College Station was one of the first communities in the nation to have a bikeway master plan. Bryan is implementing a lot of new bike lanes.
Just last week, Bryan unveiled new lanes on Finfeather. But Rose says getting across major roadways at intersections is still an issue for both cyclists and walkers. Pritchard just hopes any changes are well thought out.
It takes some engineering and some planning. That's why I'm glad to see TxDOT's involved. But it's more than just, we need a bike lane here, let's just slap a line on the road.
In College Station, Dan Beedie, News 3. Grimes County Sheriff Don Sowell never thought it was possible. He remains in disbelief after a fire destroyed his 30-year-old barn in the blink of an eye Sunday afternoon.
Just burning coals in that pot there inside of it. I had it estimated as safe as I could be, and I was watching it, and I walked away for a moment, came back, and that's when the wind kicked up.
Sowell says embers from his newly built smokehouse started the fire after a sudden gust.
And I heard a pop. So I ran and got my water hose, turned it on, and I almost had it contained. The wind started blowing, and next thing you know, it just totally engulfed it.
The barn served as a workshop, storage, and a place for family gatherings. Back in 2015, KBTX got a tour of the barn at its finest.
This is heaven all done over again right here.
But now it's a different story. While the flames tore down the barn, all the sheriff could think of was the lost history.
Old my grandfather's stuff and great-grandfather's stuff, great-great-grandfather's stuff.
This includes a plow that had been in his family since 1887, back when his ancestors first moved to Texas from South Carolina. Even though a large majority of the barn is destroyed, Sowell says it's not time for tears, but time for him to get to work.
Pull your big boy Fruit Looms up and your boots up and start over. And old spilled milk, you can't put it back in the bottle, just start over again.
In Anderson, Dan Beedie, News 3. At first, this may look like a good Christmas present, but the Burleson County Sheriff's Office says this unmanned aerial system, or drone, is more than just a toy. It can help save lives.
The first thought was missing persons.
Sergeant Tim Davis, a patrolman at the sheriff's office, says when he bought his own drone, he immediately wanted one for work.
At the time I bought my first one, there was a recent missing child in the area. I realized what kind of asset this thing would be.
With a camera attached, Davis has a total bird's eye view of a crime scene, brush fire, or disaster. Another benefit, they no longer need to wait up to an hour for a helicopter, but the drone can be used for security reasons too, even at events like Chili Fest.
If the right authorization is granted, then yes, we do have the ability to use it at Chili Fest.
Is that something you guys have sort of brainstormed?
Yes, it is in the works at the time.
Sergeant Davis is the only person licensed to fly the drone and has been flying for over a year.
I went through a 100-hour training course.
But he says he can get better.
I fly my personal one at least once a week. It's a continuous practice. It's like any skill that if you don't use it, it will diminish and go away.
In Caldwell, Dan Beedie, News 3.
Started boiling crawfish last week on Thursday, and it's kind of a day-by-day thing with cold weather, but it is officially started.
Shipwreck Grill owner Wade Beckman says this crawfish season is off to a rough start. He believes the cold weather in January is to blame.
The colder it gets, the further down in the mud the crawfish go, the harder they are to farm. Typically, the smaller they are and the more volatile they are, so they don't last as long, they're not quite as hardy.
Fortunately, the great taste is unharmed, but the cold weather can make the crawfish smaller, more expensive, and fewer of them make it to your dinner table, forcing cooks to spend extra time separating what's worth eating before they put them in the pot.
It's really sad when you lose the big ones because of cold weather.
Brings a tear to your eye.
Absolutely.
Despite the struggles, Beckman has faith this season will turn around.
And as long as it doesn't freeze in February, we'll be good to go all season.
In Bryan, Dan Beedie, News 3.
I have not touched this car except to put gas in it.
Lacey Ham has had a hard time getting back into her car. It was stolen Sunday from the Bryan Walmart parking lot and then trashed. But it isn't her car that has her upset. It's her dogs.
I lost it. It hurt me so bad.
Officers found her car 2 hours later, but not her dogs. Ham left the two inside the car with it still running around 8:30 Sunday night. She says she was only in the Walmart for 5 minutes.
I couldn't leave my dogs in a hot car. I could have simply cracked the windows, but I feel like that's animal abuse.
Bryan police arrested the two responsible for stealing her car. Taishikia Henderson and Tamara Jones are being charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Police say they sold one of the dogs to buy drugs. That dog was returned to Ham, but the other is still missing.
So if you can, please keep your eye out for her. If someone does happen to locate her, she does love belly rubs a lot. I'd give this car away just to have her back in my arms.
In Bryan, Dan Beedie, News 3.